8 souls bore witness to something impossible inside Elvis Presley's mansion that March evening. For half a century, they kept it locked away, not sworn to secrecy, but silenced by the sheer absurdity of what unfolded. How could anyone explain watching a 340-pound enforcer, undefeated across 2 decades of brutal confrontations, collapse before a man weighing barely 140 pounds? And not just collapse, crumble in less time than it takes to tie your shoes. What transpired at Graceland that night in 1970 defied everything these men understood about combat, physics, and human capability. Tennessee's most famous residents glowed under floodlights on that Sunday evening. Graceland's 13 acres stretched behind ornate gates that symbolized American royalty. Inside, the living quarters screamed excess, carpeting so plush your feet disappeared into it, gold fixtures catching light from imported chandeliers, a concert grand piano worth more than most houses, purple velvet couches formed a semicircle beneath walls plastered with platinum records and career milestones. This wasn't just wealth, this was icon-level opulence. Elvis commanded the center of this luxurious theater, dressed in a custom jumpsuit that sparkled with every gesture. Rhinestones created constellations across white fabric. His gold belt caught reflections and threw them across the room. At 35, the king stood at his commercial apex. But recently, something had shifted his focus. Martial arts had become more than a hobby. It approached obsession. He'd earned his first black belt and trained religiously. Now he wanted access to the pinnacle of martial knowledge, and every conversation pointed him toward one name: Bruce Lee. Bruce had arrived hours earlier, personally summoned after Elvis caught his performance on the Green Hornet. The king hadn't just enjoyed the show. He'd become mesmerized by how Bruce moved, the precision and explosive power contained in such a compact frame. Through Hollywood channels, Elvis tracked him down and extended an invitation that was more like a royal decree. "Come to my home, share your knowledge, make me better." Bruce accepted, though not for the obvious reasons. He'd taught plenty of celebrities. Fame didn't impress him. What caught his attention was Elvis's authentic hunger to learn. That kind of genuine passion was rare and deserved respect. Standing in that palatial living room, Bruce looked almost delicate. Traditional black silk uniform with Chinese collar buttons, no footwear on the pristine carpet, standing just over 5'7", lean muscle wrapped around efficient bones, nothing wasted, every ounce purposeful. His eyes tracked everything, each person's position, micro shifts in body language, the room's energy currents. The Memphis Mafia occupied those velvet couches like spectators at a private performance. Elvis's trusted inner circle. Road managers, cousins, childhood friends turned employees watched this exotic demonstration with mixed reactions. Joe Esposito leaned forward, genuinely intrigued. Sonny West sprawled comfortably, arms spread. Jerry Schilling absorbed everything like he was taking mental photographs. Charlie Hodge and Lamar Fike completed the audience, polite because hospitality demanded it, curious because the king was clearly fascinated. For over an hour, Elvis had peppered Bruce with questions. What makes Wing Chun different? Explain Jeet Kune Do's philosophy. How does formlessness work in actual application? Bruce answered each inquiry with depth and patience, discussing mind-body integration, the concept of no mind inherited from Yip Man, comparing effective combat to water's properties, powerful not through resistance but through adaptation. Elvis scribbled notes in leather-bound journals, asking follow-ups that proved he was genuinely processing the information. This intellectual exchange was exactly why Bruce had come. Real students were precious, but one figure in that room radiated skepticism so thick you could taste it. Red West stood planted near the kitchen doorway, like a human barricade, 6'2" of consolidated mass, 340 pounds distributed across a frame built through decades of physical confrontation, shoulders that barely cleared door frames, neck thick as a fence post, hands that looked like they could palm basketballs, knuckles bearing scar tissue from countless impacts. Red's face told stories, lines carved by sun and stress, eyes that constantly assessed threat levels, jaw set in permanent readiness. He was Elvis's cousin and security chief, present since before fame arrived, before Elvis Presley meant anything beyond a Memphis neighborhood. They'd grown up together, played football side by side, weathered fights as a unit. Red had witnessed every stage of the journey. His job description was brutally simple. Keep Elvis breathing. Protection from obsessed fans who'd climb walls, death threats arriving weekly. Mob-connected promoters pushing boundaries. Stalkers, opportunists, anyone representing potential harm. Red took this responsibility with deadly seriousness. 20 years of protection meant hundreds of physical confrontations. Bar fights, when Elvis's presence attracted violence. Backstage chaos with people forgetting boundaries. Deranged fans breaching security. Organized crime representatives who didn't appreciate contract negotiations. Concert troublemakers requiring forceful removal. People exploiting Elvis's generous nature. Red had faced every category. Large, small, armed, intoxicated, mentally unstable, genuinely dangerous. His record remained perfect. Not one loss across 2 decades. Red understood he wasn't a martial arts master. No formal training in karate, kung fu, judo, or any system. But at 340 pounds, technique became secondary. He outweighed most opponents by 100 pounds minimum. Basic physics took over. Grab someone, leverage your mass, control through superior weight, end the threat. Simple mathematics proven through repeated application. So when Elvis started inviting martial artists to Graceland months ago, Red tolerated it as executive privilege. Let the boss enjoy his hobby. Discipline and exercise had value. Red even observed some sessions, watched Elvis learn forms and positions, nodded appropriately, but this Bruce Lee situation felt different. Elvis wasn't just interested, he was reverential, treating every word as profound wisdom, positioning himself as a humble student before this small Chinese instructor. That dynamic troubled Red because he'd protected Elvis for 20 years. He understood real danger. He knew what actual fighting looked like, and this philosophical kung fu demonstration, this meditation on formlessness and water analogies, this wasn't real combat. Real fighting meant drunk, 250-pound aggressors charging backstage wielding broken bottles. Real fighting meant 3 men jumping you in parking lots. Real fighting meant grabbing opponents and using mass advantage to control outcomes. Technique became irrelevant when you outweighed someone by 100 pounds. That was Red's lived experience. That was reality. He watched Bruce demonstrate Wing Chun techniques against invisible opponents. Fast hands, impressive precision. Great for demonstrations, but demonstrations weren't tests. No resistance, no real opponent, no genuine pressure. Elvis applauded enthusiastically. Incredible. Red, you watching this? Red grunted acknowledgement. Bruce turned, locked eyes with Red. No challenge in his expression, just awareness. He recognized Red's skepticism. Elvis missed the tension entirely. Bruce, show that trap and strike sequence again? Of course. Bruce reset, moving slower this time, explaining mechanics. Red shifted weight, his jaw muscles tightened. Joe Esposito caught it. 15 years of knowing Red meant reading these signals. He leaned toward Sonny West, whispered, "Red's about to pop." Sonny glanced over, nodded confirmation. Bruce completed his demonstration. Elvis prepared another question. Red's voice cut through. "Boss, can I ask something?" Elvis turned. "Sure, Red. Speak your mind." Red moved into the room, his presence altering the space's geometry. No disrespect intended toward Mr. Lee. But these techniques, they look polished when nobody's resisting. Silence dropped like a curtain. Bruce stood motionless, listening. Red continued, his southern drawl deliberate. "What I'm questioning is whether these methods work in actual situations, against real opposition. Someone bigger, stronger. Do they hold up?" Elvis looked uncomfortable. Bruce's face revealed nothing. "See, I've been Elvis's security for 2 decades, Red said, stepping closer. "Handled legitimate threats, dangerous individuals, and my experience says size determines outcomes. Weight, strength, those are the factors." He stopped 6 feet from Bruce. The size differential was almost comedic. Red towered over him, outweighed him by 200 pounds. "I'm not dismissing your kung fu," Red said. "I'm saying it's designed for cameras, for demonstrations. But actual combat, that comes down to who's physically larger." Bruce nodded slowly. "You believe size trumps everything. I don't believe it. I've proven it. Lived it." Elvis stood. "Red, maybe. It's fine. Bruce said quietly. Calm, no defensive edge, just even tone. He addressed Red. You want to test whether my methods work against your size. I do. Then we'll find out. The room erupted, Elvis protesting, Joe Esposito rising, Sonny West trying to mediate. But Red's eyes locked on Bruce, and Bruce returned the gaze without blinking. Elvis inserted himself between them. Red, this isn't necessary. Bruce is our guest, boss. I'm not disrespecting your guest. I'm showing you reality. You're paying people for self-defense instruction. I need you understanding what actually functions. Bruce spoke. Elvis, it's acceptable. Red has valid concerns. He protects you. He requires confidence in what I teach. I understand his position. Elvis looked at Bruce. You certain? I am. Elvis turned to Red. Promise me this stays controlled. Nobody injured. Red nodded. Just demonstration, boss. Elvis hesitated, then retreated. All right. But when I say stop, both of you stop immediately. Yes, sir. Red agreed. Bruce simply nodded. The Memphis Mafia exchanged glances. This would be either fascinating or disastrous. Joe moved closer to Elvis, prepared to intervene. That plush white carpet became an impromptu arena. Furniture shifted slightly back. Red removed his jacket, revealing a tight black shirt stretched across enormous muscles. His arms looked like most people's legs. His chest resembled a beer keg. He rolled his shoulders, cracked his neck, old football rituals. Bruce made no preparations, just stood there, hands relaxed, breathing normally. The contrast was biblical. David facing Goliath. Except nobody in this room, except possibly Bruce, believed David had any chance. Red settled into position. Hands raised, weight balanced, ready. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lee, Red said. Bruce didn't move. You're certain about this? Never been more certain. Then come. Red frowned. You want me attacking first? You're the one claiming size wins. Demonstrate. Something flickered across Red's expression. Maybe respect, maybe uncertainty. But he'd committed himself before Elvis, before the entire crew. No backing down now. Red stepped forward experimentally, testing distance. Bruce showed no reaction. Another step. Closer now. Within range. Still, Bruce didn't move. Red made his choice. He'd grab Bruce. Use his size, his weight. Pin him. Finish this. He reached out with both hands, fast for his mass, aiming for Bruce's shoulders. What happened next would be dissected by those 8 witnesses for the rest of their lives. Bruce moved. Not backward, not away forward, into Red's attack. His left hand intercepted Red's right wrist. Not grabbing, just redirecting. A touch so light, it seemed impossible it could affect 340 pounds of momentum. But it did. Red's right hand pushed offline. Inches. Just enough. Simultaneously, Bruce's right palm shot forward, open, targeting Red's solar plexus. The connection was surgical. A point just below the sternum where nerves cluster. The sound cracked through the living room. Red's eyes bulged. His mouth opened. Nothing emerged because Red couldn't breathe. The strike compressed his diaphragm, triggering respiratory spasm. His lungs tried expanding, tried drawing air. But signals from his brain weren't reaching the muscles. He was suffocating while vertical. His hands dropped, went to his chest instinctively, trying to fix the malfunction. His knees buckled. 140 pounds of muscle began collapsing. Bruce stepped aside, letting gravity finish.
Red hit that white carpet like a dropped sandbag. He rolled sideways, gasping, face turning crimson, veins bulging in his neck.
The room froze. Elvis stood with his hand halfway to his mouth, shocked beyond words. Joe Esposito stared, unable to process. Sonny West's jaw hung open. Charlie Hodge hadn't blinked. Lamar Fike whispered, Jesus Christ. Bruce knelt beside Red. Breathe slowly. The spasm will pass. You're not injured. Red couldn't respond. His body was in rebellion. His mind screamed commands his lungs refused to obey. After what felt like forever but measured closer to 15 seconds, the spasm released. Air rushed in. Red gasped, coughed, gasped again. Color gradually returned. Bruce remained beside him. That's it. Slow breaths. You're fine. Red rolled onto his back, staring at the chandelier. chest heaving, heart hammering. He'd just been taken down by a man half his size. How long did that take? He tried replaying it mentally. He reached for Bruce. Then he was on the ground. Everything between those moments was fog. 5 seconds? 10? Bruce stood, offered his hand. Red looked at it for a long moment before accepting. Bruce helped pull him upright, 140 pounds lifting 340. Which shouldn't work, but positioning, leverage, body mechanics understanding made it work. Red stood unsteadily. His pride hurt worse than his body. Elvis rushed over. "Red, you okay?" Red nodded, voice hoarse. "I'm fine, boss. What happened? I barely saw anything. I don't know." Red looked at Bruce. "What did you do?" Bruce's expression remained respectful. No mockery, no triumph. "Intercepted your attack. Disrupted your breathing. Used your forward momentum against you. I'm 340 pounds. I know. You're what? Closer to 138 today." Red shook his head, looked at Elvis. "Boss, whatever this man charges, pay triple. This is legitimate." Elvis laughed, relief and amazement mixing. "Red, you sure you're okay?" "My pride's damaged, but yeah, I'm okay." Red extended his hand to Bruce. "Mr. Lee, I apologize. I was wrong." Bruce shook it. "You weren't wrong to question. Bodyguards should question, should test. That's your responsibility. But I was wrong about size being everything." "Size matters," Bruce said. "But it's not the only factor. Timing matters. Precision matters. Understanding the body's vulnerabilities matters." He gestured to where he'd struck Red. "The solar plexus is a weak point. Doesn't matter your strength. Doesn't matter your size. If someone knows exactly where and how to strike, the body shuts down." Red touched his chest. "I couldn't breathe. Because your diaphragm spasmed. Not permanent, not dangerous. But for those seconds, your body stopped obeying your brain." Joe Esposito spoke up. "How long did that actually take? Start to finish?" Sonny West checked his watch. "I was timing from when Red reached out to when he hit the ground. 11 seconds. Maybe less. 11 seconds. 440 pounds. 20 years of undefeated experience. Defeated in 11 seconds." The room processed this in silence. Then Elvis started laughing. Not mockery. The laugh of someone witnessing something impossible. "Bruce, that was I don't even have words." Bruce smiled. "Thank you for allowing me to demonstrate." "Demonstrate. You just showed me everything I thought I knew about fighting was incomplete." "Not wrong. Incomplete. Size and strength are important." Red was correct about that. But they're tools, not the entire toolbox. Red had recovered his breath now. Color normal. Pride still wounded. But he was processing the lesson. "Can you teach me that?" Red asked. Bruce looked at him. "The technique? All of it. How you move, how you see. I've protected Elvis for 20 years. Thought I knew fighting. But I don't. Not like you." "You know how to fight," Bruce said. "You just learned there are other approaches." Elvis put his hand on Red's shoulder. "You all right, cousin?" "Yeah, boss. Just got educated tonight." Elvis turned to Bruce. "How often can you come to Graceland?" "As often as you'd like. I'd like weekly. I want to learn everything you can teach, and I want Red learning too." Red nodded. "Yes, sir. I'd appreciate that." Bruce bowed slightly. "I would be honored." The evening transformed after that. Instead of tension, curiosity dominated. Everyone had questions. How did you move that fast? How did you identify where to strike? Could you teach us that technique? Bruce answered patiently, demonstrated on willing volunteers, explained the philosophy underlying the techniques. Red watched everything with fresh eyes, asking his own questions, taking mental notes. 20 years protecting Elvis with size and strength. Now he realized an entire dimension of fighting existed that he'd never explored. As the evening wound down and Bruce prepared to leave, Elvis walked him to the door. "Thank you for tonight," Elvis said. "Not just for what you showed me, for what you showed Red. He needed that." "He's a good man," Bruce said. "Loyal, protective, valuable qualities. He is. But he's also stubborn, set in his ways. Not anymore. You saw his face? He's open now. Ready to learn." Elvis nodded. "Come back next Sunday. I'll be here." They shook hands. Elvis watched Bruce walk to his car. That small figure crossing Graceland's vast lawn, a 140-pound martial artist who just changed everything. Inside, Red sat on the couch. Joe Esposito joined him. "You okay?" Joe asked. Red touched his chest again. "He hit me right here. Barely felt the impact, but my whole body shut down. That was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. Joe, I've been in hundreds of fights, against men bigger than me, multiple opponents, been hit with chairs, bottles, fists, never been taken down that fast. You weren't taken down, you were turned off." Yeah, exactly what it felt like. Like someone flipped a switch. They sat silently for a moment. Then Red laughed, sharp, short, the laugh of someone whose worldview just exploded. "You know what the worst part is?" Red asked. "What?" He was gentle about it. "Could have hurt me. Really hurt me. But he didn't. He just taught me a lesson. That's probably worse than if he'd knocked you out. Way worse." Sonny West approached. "You going to train with him?" "Every week," Red said. "I protect Elvis. If something out there makes my protection better, I need to learn it, even if it means admitting you were wrong, especially if it means admitting I was wrong." Those 8 witnesses never spoke publicly about what they saw. No interviews, no tell-all books, no documentaries, because the story sounded impossible. A 340-pound bodyguard defeated in 11 seconds by a 140-pound martial artist in Elvis Presley's living room on white carpet. Who would believe that? But it happened. Red West continued as Elvis's head of security until He trained with Bruce Lee every week for 2 years, learning Wing Chun, learning Jeet Kune Do, learning to see fighting as more than size and strength. He never forgot those 11 seconds. The lesson that changed everything he thought he knew. The night he learned being the biggest man in the room doesn't mean you're the most dangerous. Bruce Lee taught him that on a Sunday evening in March 1970 at Graceland Mansion before 8 witnesses who would carry the secret for 50 years, because some stories are too incredible for public consumption. Some moments belong only to those who witnessed them, but the truth remains. It happened, every word of it, and those 11 seconds changed martial arts history one bodyguard at a time.